There was a paper written by Margaret Macmillan on the First World War called The Rhymes of History. Okay? She is the great granddaughter of former Prime Minister David Lloyd George, who was the Prime Minister of England during World War I. Okay? So she's talking about how things in 1914 matches what is happening in 2013/2014. Similarities. Okay? So she goes, here is a little bit tidbit about Brookings Institution, where we'll skip that. This thing. So these are the points here where she makes the comparison. These are some categories she makes the comparison. I'm not going to go into details on these things, but here are some pictures she has done. You will get the idea of how she's comparing 1913 with 2014. You will understand this thing. Here are First World War gas mask, gas attack in Syria. These are the first cousins who were the leaders of the belligerent parties in First World War, World War I. This is the Congress of Vienna. I wanted to actually include a topic on the Congress of Vienna, but it will go outside the scope of this thing. United Nations, just to give you an idea, United Nations has evolved from the Congress of Vienna. So how that's a different topic altogether. Here, this is 2013. This is the most powerful ship at that time, the battleship. There was a race to build the biggest and baddest battleship so that you can defeat your enemy. This is the race to build the best missile to destroy your opponent. So that is the similarity she's talking about. So where I started from, I repeat that, that's good that she did this comparison. How about we doing a comparison between the leaders of that time, what they were doing, and the leaders of today, and what was happening to the people of that time, the people, the common people, and the common people of today. You get the idea I'm doing? So the leader of that time was who? Lloyd George.
Prime Minister.
Prime Minister. So what was he doing at that time? This is what he was doing at that time.
He was before World War I, or he was
On World War I.
UK Prime Minister.
UK Prime. So this is what he was doing at World War I. I'm not going to repeat it. Okay? This guy he had a mistress who had 2 abortions, and the third one, she begged to have a child, right? And that child was was brought into the world on the condition that the lady never acknowledged Lloyd George as the father. This is the person who is leading the world for democracy and peace. Who does not want to acknowledge his own blood. And see how this is whitewashed in the biography. Says the pain and privilege of loving and living with a great man.
Writes who? The mistress writes that?
No, this is a woman who has written. That's a whole story by itself, who has written this thing. But take this. This, okay, let's look. I can't include all the pictures and all these things here. The mother went out of the way to adopt her own child, so that the press and the media could not know that this child is from Lloyd George.
Just so it's an adopted child.
Exactly. Her own mother saying that. This is how she communicated the message to Lloyd George. The parcel we were expecting has arrived. So a human child is born and is called what? A parcel.
Telegram.
This is how you bring peace and justice to the world. Okay? So that's why I'm saying, when I go and talk about the geopolitical codes, if you don't understand the context in which I'm going to bring these things up, it's meaningless. And where was all this happening? Now, you guys have seen the pictures. Contrast this, what is happening, with contrast with the common man is happening in Syria and Middle East. Can you imagine that? This is your luxury. The guy has his cubicle, 2 yard of his shelter has been bombed out, and this is what you do. This is how you bring peace, democracy, and justice. Okay, so I can go on and go on these things. This is the present state of Congo. These are two brothers who have lost their parents. Look at this. Why? Because they are mining. You know mining? And what are they mining about? What's on your mobile phone? This thing, this stuff. Tantalum. So when you guys make next time you guys make a phone call, remember that the blood of people is in these cell phones. Children, oppressed. All this started with the scramble of Africa. Okay?
When?
1884 to 1885. It started prior, but this was the official demarcation.
Belgium started it, right?
No, this is a whole European colonialism. Belgium was given, Leopold II was given the Congo Free State. Why? Because in Congo there was rubber, natural rubber, the only source of rubber in the world at that time, apart from Malaysia. What did he say? I do not want to risk losing a fine chance to secure ourselves a slice of this magnificent African cake. So he formed a company. He formed an organization. And however, this came with a cost. And what is the cost? These are some 10 points somebody has come up with what they did in Congo at that time. And it's still continuing today.
So they have been oppressed and for more than 100 years?
Yes.
And
This is anyone who knows about Henry Stanley, the explorer. I have been exposed to him. Okay? He was glorified in my textbooks in Africa. Okay? What did his men do? This is the explorer. What did his men do? And see how this is whitewashed by the Smithsonian magazine. Unbreakable will. You kill and rape people, and that is called your unbreakable will. So these people were enslaved. They had to meet their quota. And if they did not meet their quota, this is what happened to them. I'm going to skip really fast because I have to cover other things.
So they cut the hand of their children.
Yes, and themselves too. You can see the people's hands. These are pictures you can't deny. This is, her dad could not meet the quota. Any of you have ever heard about these things before? Never. You will never hear it. You only hear about Stalin, Mao, Pol Pot. You will hear about these people. The barbarism of this guy, Leopold II, you will never hear about it. You will never hear about this guy. He killed more than 20 million people. And that is a very conservative estimate. Look at this. Let's go on. Do you see what this is? This is the butchered remains of his daughter. Butchered remains of his daughter. King Leopold II. The mercy. This is how they were treated. Look at this. He ordered us to cut off the heads of the men and hang them on the village palisades. Also their sexual members, and to hang the women and children on the palisade in the form of a cross. You ever heard about these atrocities? Why? He was going to open civilization, the only part of our globe which it has not yet penetrated, to pierce the darkness which hangs over entire peoples, is, I dare say, a crusade worthy of this century of progress. That was his plan. And this is continuing in Africa.
Behind the curtain of progress.
That's the curtain of progress. Anyway, so this is the new scramble of Africa. This is the famines in India. There are so many of them. I just took 4 snapshots here. 43, 44 is the one that I'm going to talk about. Look at the pictures. Without the pictures, you cannot really do justice with the quotes. Let's look at the other one. These are kids being born. This is actually your and my ancestors. If we are from India, whoever is from India, some continent. This is what happened to them, and believe me, I'm not making this up. I heard these tales from my grandparents. I never understood the gravity of this thing till I read history myself. Look at the family. Look at this picture. This child is trying to suckle the mom. What can she give? And who was leading India at that time? Churchill. The person who saved the free world. Okay? And what does he have to say about these famines? He said, it was their own fault, like breeding like rabbits. He said the plague was merely culling the population.
Beastly people with beastly religion.
Winston thinks only of the color of the skin. His own secretary says he didn't see much difference between Churchill's outlook and Hitler's. If food is so scarce, why hasn't Gandhi died yet? These are the people who are the leaders of the free world, the just world. These are the leaders.
Prosperous world.
You see the pictures that have just gone by? If you read these quotes just as is, without these pictures on the side, you will never do justice to yourself. This is what has happened to the ummah of the person who was the most merciful, compassionate person mankind has ever known, who could not rest in the night just because somebody was either hungry or in need. We are the people of Abu Bakr and Umar who will not sleep in the night because somebody was in need. And today we do not understand. These are the leaders that we want to
praise and follow.
I'm speechless. I'm not advocating anything. I request just one thing from everyone. Just know your history. Just know your history. Before you get up and talk, just know your history. Anyway, so I've run out of time here, so I cannot really. We'll do it in the next one because this takes, honestly, anytime I do this thing, it takes an emotional toll on me, because these pictures are not really easy to digest and swallow, because they really hurt. I mean, if you really have a small dot of humanity in you and you look at these pictures, these are actual people who have suffered. These are not pictures. This is somebody who has actually suffered, whose parents, whose children, whose livelihood was damaged. These are not pictures. These are the reality. This is something that has happened to some human being. Even if something happens to a dog, you feel compassion. How can you have no feeling when you see these pictures? The remaining part will take a long time to finish. But may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us that we understand what is the name of having a deen that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself sent through Ruhul Amin to the Rahmatul Alameen. Really, if you do not understand history, if you do not understand what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, that see the past and learn from them, you cannot understand the gift of Iman that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the gift of the Quran that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent down to ourselves. If you do not know history, you can never appreciate this gift. Jazakallah khair.